Okay, we should be live. Let's check if we're live. If you guys see me, if you guys hear me, please send a message, leave a comment and say that everything works. I just want to double check this on my system because I don't have the streaming page open. Maybe now I do. It says excellent connection. Yeah, just guys let me know if it's all good on your end as well. And yeah, it should be working. I will check on my phone. Okay. Before I say something odd. Yeah, the quality should be fine. Yes, okay, we should have a nice quality for the video, and for the audio there shouldn't be too much noise in the background, and we should also have a nice sync between audio and video, guys. Yeah. So today's gonna be a chat. I'm gonna have this Q&A session to celebrate the 10,000 subscribers that we reached on the channel, and this is all thanks to you. So the first thing I want to say is a huge thank you to each and every of you for subscribing to this channel, but also for all kind of support that I receive from all of you guys. I'm really humbled by that. Congratulations from Akil Vasa, thank you very much. And yeah guys, so that's the main thing. Today is mainly to say thank you for this milestone, really. Although it's a small milestone, it's the first milestone. I really hope that we will be able to celebrate many more together on the channel. And I also recorded a video, a celebration video for the 10k subscribers here on the channel. You will see it, guys, in a few days. And I decided to run this Q&A session because I asked you guys to leave a few questions, to leave some questions, on the channel and on Instagram. It was in a community post here on YouTube, and you guys were amazing because you left so many questions that I couldn't include them all in a video on the channel. And that's why I decided let's also do a live Q&A session so that I can answer a few more questions that I selected from the many that you left. And I will also give the chance to everyone who happened to be in the live streaming to leave further questions in the live chat box that you will see on the right corner if I'm right. And so if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the live chat box, and I will read them while I go through the other questions, and I will answer your questions while we are live. Okay, so no guitar lesson today. I've got the guitar just in case any of the questions are guitar related and we want to go over some things together, but it's mainly a chat, it's mainly a Q&A. Okay, so all right, I've got my iPad here where I've got the questions that I couldn't answer in the video that I recorded. So yeah, let's go through them. Let's go through some of them, and then I will open this to live questions if you guys have any other questions. Okay, as I said, while I answer these questions, feel free to leave the other new questions in the comments in the chat on your right. Okay guys, so first question is from Jojo Joestar. If any of you that I mentioned in these questions and answers is actually live, please say hi. Okay, that would be amazing. So we've got Jojo Joestar asking, what is the first chord you play? Okay, now guys, this is a difficult question to answer because I really don't know whether you mean what is the first chord you play when you grab the guitar, what is the thing that comes more natural to you, or what is the first chord you learned to play on guitar. So if this is the meaning of this question, I believe the very first chord, I don't remember really well, okay, but I think that the very first chord that I learned to play on guitar must have been an A minor, okay, which is obviously a chord that I guess most of you know, okay, just an open chord. And yeah, I remember that I was playing a few simple chords in open position to kind of learn. I was a kid, guys, I was like 9, and I think I learned these chords because I wanted to play a song by U2, which is called One by the U2, and that involved an A minor, a C, actually a C, A minor, and F major 7 in the chorus. So yeah, I guess the A minor was the very first of these chords. Okay, but at the time I had literally no clue about what I was learning, like many people learning guitar at a very young age, and that's, I guess, absolutely fine. If instead you mean what is the first chord you play when you grab the guitar, it really depends on the day, on the mood. It really depends on what I have in my mind. For instance, just before this live streaming, the first chord I played was this, because I really like this way of playing a major chord. Okay, that's an A major, for instance, with a D on the bass. So you can think of this, I guess, as a D major 7 sus2. Okay, it's a really lovely chord. But sometimes I would play like a minor 9 vibe, a minor 9 sound. Yeah, it just depends on the mood of the day. Okay. Anyway, let's keep going with the questions. I've got one question from Ilion Campbell, who says, how to stay patient, trust the process, and be consistent when everything feels hard and you hit a plateau in learning to play the guitar, which is a really good question. Thanks, Ilion. And it's really hard. I do understand this, and this is something that I often discuss with some of my students. The learning process in everything, including learning guitar, is not really like this all the time, but it's kind of like highs and lows. And you need to put in account that there will be times where you feel a little stuck, that you don't really know in which direction to go. But that is the time to really trust the process. Think about how good you are compared to how you were 6 months ago in playing something that you couldn't play 6 months ago, or that you couldn't play that well 6 months ago. And it will be the same thing. I promise it's gonna be the same thing in 6 months time, in 12 months time, in 2 years time, and so on. Okay, so you just need to trust this kind of process. And if you feel stuck and bored, change something in what you practice. Maybe change the practice routine, change the subjects that you practice. Try to open up to different things, to new things that you really enjoy. Think about, I don't know, new songs that you hear on the radio and you want to learn, do that. Or new genres that you've never explored before, why not? Do that. Feel free to, open your mind to different inputs music-wise, and that is always the best thing that you can do. When I feel stuck, when I feel I'm not very much into practicing guitar one day, I always try to learn something that I don't know how to play but that I really like. Even if that's something really challenging, you don't have to sort everything out in one day, but it would be really nice if you can grab a new song, grab the guitar and learn a new song just because you heard it and it was cool. Okay, I think one of the latest ones that I really did was one evening I was on the sofa and I was listening to this song by Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak, which is called Leave That Door Open, and I just wanted to learn it. So I grabbed the guitar, listened to the piece, and tried to figure out as many chords as I could by ear. Okay, I didn't finish the song the same evening. I probably finished it the day after because it was quite of a complicated song with many chords, but still, it's just finding new inputs all the time. It's all about that. I'm saying a few questions, so before I continue, let's go through something. XOXO basically says, hey dude, I'm learning some R&B because of you. Oh, that's really lovely. That's great. What are you learning at the moment? Are you following any of the chord progressions in my videos? And Samuel Saria says, how can explain the harmony of R&B? Well, that's something that I try to do basically every time I release a new YouTube video, a new YouTube lesson, because I appreciate that not everybody might be interested in understanding the theory, the harmony of what you play. But in my opinion, if I teach you a new chord progression, if I teach you a new concept, you also need to know what's the harmony, what's the theory behind that. And this way you can understand what's the key, first of all, which is really helpful in case you have to move the key, in case you want to, for instance, play some solos or some melodies. But at the same time, it's also important to understand what's the chord analysis, so what degrees, what chord numbers the chords actually represent. That is something that I always try to do. So if you haven't checked out all of my R&B videos, I would suggest maybe start from the most recent. You will also find an entire series on the channel. It's also in the description of this live streaming, I guess, which is called Acoustic R&B and Neo Soul Guitar. It's made by 10 videos, different levels for all of the videos, exercises, chord progressions. But every time we go through a chord progression, I try to explain also what's the key, what are the chord numbers, all that sort of stuff that you need to know to really get everything out of what you're playing. Okay, so yeah, hopefully that makes sense. And what genre did you learn when you first pick up guitar? I want to learn R&B directly, but I want to play on the streets too. So I want to learn some pop songs too. What do you think? That's a very good idea. I would never be narrow-minded in the way you approach guitar and music in general. So although you love R&B and you want to learn R&B, you can do that, but at the same time you can learn some pop tunes. Very interestingly, you will also recognize that many things are across different genres are actually the same. So what you learn in R&B, you can find it in pop music and the other way around. So hopefully this makes sense, and yeah, it's definitely something that I would suggest to do. What genre did you learn when you first picked up guitar? So it's a little tricky because I first started playing classical guitar. So if I need to think about a first genre that I learned to play on guitar, that was classical music, I guess, and classical guitar. And I did that for 4 years when I was a kid. But besides that, as soon as I got my electric guitar and as soon as I got into modern music in general, I guess I started from some simple pop tunes, things that I could hear on the radio, the things that the people around me wanted to sing, and because they knew that I could play some guitar, they asked me to play. That's been a constant thing in my life since I was 10, basically, because people knew that I was taking guitar lessons, that I was learning guitar, they assumed that I could play any guitar song on the spot, which is obviously not true, as you very well know, I guess. But that gave me the input to actually learn more songs in different genres. And at the time, as I said, I only played classical guitar, so opening to other genres was really, really important to me at the time. David Atzian, I guess. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. You're a great guitar player. Thanks for all your videos. You're really kind. You're too kind. And guys, thank you. Really, this is a video to say thank you for subscribing to this channel and for supporting me, for following this channel. This is that's the celebration. This is a Q&A to celebrate 10K subscribers, but we're almost 11,000 already. So yeah, it's really nice, and hopefully will be more and more in the next few weeks and months, and we'll get more and more of these celebrations and Q&A, and we'll go through as many topics as possible. But yeah, guys, if you want, feel free to continue with the questions in the live chat on the right. I will go through the other questions that you guys left me on my community post here on YouTube, so that we'll try to answer a few more, guys. Okay, I've got another one by Kyle McMahon, who says, "Hey man, I love your content." Thank you very much, Kyle. Which neo soul artist and guitarist are you influenced by, and why? Wow, this is huge because there are so many artists and guitarists, I guess, that that I really love. There are too many to name them. In terms of artists, definitely what I like the most is more 90 R&B and neo soul. So I'm thinking about guys like D'Angelo and Erykah Badu, that kind of music. But also much more recent stuff. I love Georgia Smith. I love so many other artists which are really recent. And in terms of guitar players, most of them probably you wouldn't even know them, but they are not celebrities. They're just session players for these guys, and I just find them amazing. And I'm very lucky because I managed to meet and to speak to some of them, and yeah, that was lovely. And I would say those are my favorite artists. If you want to know one which most of you might know, I would suggest follow Marco Lettieri, the guitarist for Snarky Puppy and so many other bands. It's just amazing. Yeah. I'm gonna start writing my second song and watching some of your video to at least pick up some chord progressions. That's very good. Again, thank you for your video. I'm very inspired. Oh, thanks so much. You're very kind as well. And yeah, feel free to get some inspiration from the chord progressions in my videos. That would be amazing. And if you manage to record something, feel free to tag me as well. I would love to hear that. And Martin Coate says, how do you work a chord progression from a melody? Thanks, man. Good stuff. Thank you, Martin. It's a difficult question to answer on the spot because there are so many things behind a melody. If you want to figure out a chord progression from a melody, I'm assuming that you want to understand what chords there are in a song. If that is the case, I would suggest to work on ear training skills and exercises. So try to isolate the bass line, for instance, for that chord progression. Try to understand what's going on in the harmony, and you will get that by ear. Obviously, the melody can be a big help to really understand that. But if instead you mean that you want to create a melody, and from the melody that you got, you want to understand what chords you can play, well, that is completely up to you in terms of songwriting skill. Let's say this, if I've got a melody made by 3 notes, okay, something extremely simple. Now I'm playing D, E flat, F, okay. Each of this note could, for instance, be the highest note of a chord. Think about this D as a G minus 7, where the highest note is this D. Okay, like that. And I don't know, think about this like the highest note of an A flat 6, 9, and you basically get dun, 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 dun. Then when you get to this one, it could be this chord, a B flat minus 7, it could be this other chord, it could be anything really, it could be this, you know. And we are talking about the same notes on top, so it's really up to you what chords you want to put on top of that melody. Try to put something that makes sense in terms of key, something that belongs to the same key or it has a few chord changes. You know, that's what I can suggest. What guitar do you recommend for some R&B starters? Guys, I also said that in my latest video. I get this question minimum 2-3 times a day between YouTube, Instagram and stuff. Like there isn't one guitar that you can, you know, suggest and recommend to people to really start with R&B. There isn't even a guitar which is only made for R&B. My advice as a general rule of thumb is get something which is affordable, comfortable, versatile. So if you are into an electric guitar, get a Strat. I've got my Strat here. You can get any kind of Strat and it's gonna be a comfortable and versatile guitar. It doesn't have to be a custom shop $5,000 thing. It can also be an Asian production, something that you can find below $200 or $300. So something quite affordable, and that would be more than enough to get started. Similarly, if you are into acoustic guitars instead, I would say get something first of all affordable, because you know, if you are just starting out, it doesn't make any sense to spend too much on a guitar. It also has to be something comfortable, you know, because if you get one of those big jumbo guitars and you're just starting playing guitar, whether you want to learn R&B or any other genre, it's not really gonna work. It's just gonna stop you from wanting to play more and more. So in terms of acoustic guitar shapes, what I recommend is an OM shape like the one that you see here, okay? That's the kind of thickness and shape that you get from an OM size. Because it's just more comfortable. It's slightly smaller than a dreadnought, than a jumbo, and it's really comfortable. And usually they also have nice comfortable necks and fingerboards. So yeah, that could be a good rule of thumb pretty much if you want to start learning R&B or any other genre and you are after a you know, beginner electric or acoustic guitar really. Okay. Let's keep going with the questions. I've got another one by Ilion Campbell. Ilion, you left a few questions and they were all quite interesting, so I tried to select a couple of them. The next one is a big topic, guys, in the musicians community. Okay, so I'll go through the question, which is, can you make a living as a guitarist and how? This is such a huge topic here and we could talk for hours about it. I'll try to give you my way of thinking about this in a nutshell, which is yes, you can, as well as you can make a living as any other thing you like and you want to be if you put the right amount of work in it. Okay, so the first thing is be prepared. Try to do your best to really know as much as possible about guitar, about music, about this job, this profession, if this is what you want to do, if you want to become a full-time musician, if you want to become a professional guitarist. And at the same time, you know, there are other things which might be not under your control, which also influence this. And I'm thinking about where you are in the world, for instance. Okay, so I'm in the UK. If you are in the UK, obviously you've got, I guess, more resources and occasions and opportunities compared to other countries. So yeah, you also need to evaluate where you are, and depending on where you are, you need to make sure that you get a name, that you get a good reputation where you are, that you get a presence online, that you can show people what you can do, and ultimately I think you can make it. You can make a living as a guitarist. Obviously, the way you can make a living as a guitarist today, right now, 2021, is inevitably different from what it was in the 80s, for instance. Typical thing that we all say is that there are no Michael Jackson records to record, okay, anymore. So it doesn't make much sense to move to LA and think that you will get into that kind of circuit of session players, because that kind of scene, although there is a scene right now, it's not the same as what it was 40 years ago or 30 years ago or something like that. But there are a lot of other things, including the internet, you know, and social media, for instance, which were not available decades ago. So things change with times, but if you are really if you really have a strong motivation, and if you are prepared, and if you put the right amount of effort and time into things, you can make it as a guitarist as well as any other thing you want to be. Okay, so hopefully this answer your questions, although like I said, we could speak about this for hours. So yeah, anyway, let's move on. Next question is from Tim Prendelson, who asks, would you teach more advanced neo-soul R&B licks for playing between chords? Definitely, and I'm planning on getting into slightly more advanced videos here and there, and especially lick videos, because, you know, I love them and many people ask me about them. I will just say that if you're watching this live, or in general, if you're watching this today on a Saturday, tomorrow there will be a new video on the channel which is literally exactly about this. It will be about licks, neo soul and R&B licks that you can use on electric guitar when you improvise, and they are slightly more advanced than usual. So yeah, keep that in mind and check out the channel tomorrow, because you'll get a new video. And the next question is from This Strange Life. Great name. And they say, big congrats on your channel. Thank you very much. You've given us a lot to learn. Can you share some insights on how to get better at finger picking? A lot of your channel focuses on learning the chords, but your rhythm adds a lot of souls. Thanks for that. And yeah, that is true. And I recently made a video which was called, I guess, fingerstyle. I'll tell you now. It was called like fingerstyle R&B something, you know, fingerstyle R&B techniques or something like that. And anyway, that was a video where I tried to break down the process, and in general tried to break down what I do most of the times when I play these chord progressions on guitar. So yeah, if you haven't watched that video, make sure to check that out. And in general, whenever it's possible, I always try to explain what I do on my finger picking on my right hand. I also made videos and live streams about finger picking in general, not just in R&B and neo soul. And in general, what I think about finger picking is that you should always think that the finger picking is what gets you closer to sound more like a piano, okay, compared to the strumming. So what I would do is focus a lot on the role of the thumb, playing the bass notes, and equally trying to understand what do you do with the other 3 fingers. You can play 2-finger techniques, 3-finger techniques, 4-finger techniques. You can play classical arpeggios, you can play plucks, you can play in between like single notes and plucks. There are so many things that you can do, and that's why you should practice finger picking on its own and trying to go different exercises all the time, you know. So yeah, but check out some of my videos on finger picking, because you know, you'll find lots of what I recommend to get started on finger picking there. Okay, and if you want to see note by note what strings I play in my chord progressions, even on my neo soul and R&B videos, you'll find everything in details on my Patreon page, where I upload the music notation with the tab of my examples, and there you literally see everything I'm playing. So if you want to have a look at that and download the tabs, you'll find them on my Patreon. And guys, that really supports this channel, so a huge thank you to my patrons as well. That being said, I've got one more question here saved, which is from Acoustical Butt Nugget. Interesting. How do you go about practicing? Now, this is another huge question, because we can talk about so many things around the concept of practicing. Now, I will say something not very popular at first, but first I will drink some water. And I will say that, in my opinion at least, the best way of practicing is learning songs. Make music, learn music. Now, I did have my phases when I was learning guitar and I was younger, on the electric guitar, on the acoustic guitar and stuff, where I was going through exercises, you know, like everybody, playing scales, playing arpeggios, learning chords and stuff like that. But that is just the preparation to actually make music. So my advice is try to make as much music as possible. If you're a songwriter, write a chord progression. If you are a session player, if you like to play for others, try to learn different techniques and different genres, but go through different songs. So practicing songs, practicing real music is, in my opinion, the #1 priority when you practice. However, you know, there are some things that you must know. So maybe try to organize your practice through a practice routine, through a journal or something like that, and go through different subjects. Prepare, you know, you've got 1 hour to practice, fine. Let's say the first 15 minutes will be your warm-up, your technique, your skills, your arpeggios, whatever they are. Then for the rest of the time you make music, which means you learn rhythm, you learn songs, you learn theory as well, you develop your ear training. So there is so much around learning songs, learning real music that you can do. But at first you can always use a little bit of your practice time to warm up, and in general to learn as many exercises and techniques as possible, because I promise at some point you'll need them. And when you'll need them, it's gonna be so much better if you've got something ready under your fingers. Okay, so hopefully this makes sense. Martin Coat also says, other than Guitarist, is there any other instrumentalist or other instruments you take inspiration from? Oh yeah, so many. Like, one big thing that really helped me in my career in general, it was when I was about 20, I think, where a teacher that I used to have at the time suggested me to focus not only on being a guitarist, but on being a musician in general. And that is something that since that day stayed with me on a daily basis as a thought. And yeah, so I follow drummers, piano players, and I love them, you know, the way they play. I love so many musicians who are not guitarists, and I follow their work. I look at them and I'm just amazed. So yeah, indeed, I totally love trumpet, piano and drums, and I try to take as much inspiration from those musicians and in general those instruments as much as I can, really. So yeah, I definitely do, and I always suggest that to all of my students as well. Mr. Red says, what's up? I enjoy your channel, from California, I guess, Chino Hills, if I'm right. So that's great. Hello. And also asked, what are the top 10 chord shapes that you recommended for R&B? Thanks. Great question. Okay, let's try to make a ranking, okay? Now, and this is something that I talked about in some videos. So there are so many chords that you should know to play R&B guitar, for sure. Something that I always say is that, for sure, the R&B and neo-soul genre is very much based on 7 chords. So I would say, do you guys know 7 chords? Because I would put them as a big chunk of the top 10 chord shapes recommended. So let's try to go through some of them, okay, since I've got my acoustic guitar here. So definitely know -7 chords, which can be played here, can be played with this kind of shape. Then you should obviously know major 7, so this and this. So I'm considering -7 one chord and major 7 another chord. Obviously dominant 7. There are so many. You can know that you can learn the classic -7, the classic dominant 7. You can learn something more advanced, but still dominant 7 with alterations, altered chords and stuff like that. Obviously half diminished, why not? You know, -7 flat 5, and clearly one of the most important chords in R&B, the diminished chords, diminished 7th chords. So learn them with the root on the A string, with the root on the D string, with the root on the E string, okay? So that's another chord. So we are naming 5 so far: -7, major 7, half diminished, dominant 7, and diminished 7th. I would also then go to extended chords, and for instance, I would name -9 as an extension of -7. You know, this chord is just like amazing, you know. Then I would also know -11 as another extension of -7, okay? Things like that. Major 9 as an extension of major 7 chords. Okay, chords like that. Then what else do we have? We do have 6/9 chords, which are really interesting. Okay. Like that. And yeah, the altered chords, we already mentioned them. Maybe some other sus chords. One that I love, I was playing that before, as I said, is definitely this, okay? The major 7 sus2 chord. This, for instance, is an E major 7 sus2 or a B over E, if you want to look at it this way. I think we made to 10. So these are probably the top 10 shapes that you should know to play R&B. These are not the only ones that you should know, but I would start from these 10. Okay, hopefully that answers your question. Camille, hello man, I love your channel. As a beginner, it's super interesting and fun to try some of the basic chords progression you teach us. I'm super happy because I just learned how to play bar chords. That's amazing. And that's always a turning point in the guitar journey. So it's gonna be, I promise, it's gonna be easier from there onwards. But it's still hard to place them from basic chords. I guess what you are saying is, you know, chord changes. So coming from, you know, an open chord into a bar chord. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there are so many things that I could say. For instance, that you've got alternatives to bar chords that you should also know, like this kind of grips and positions. But in general, there is no secret about bar chords. You just need to practice them a lot. One advice is try not to have the bar, so the first finger, too high. That doesn't work, okay? I often see guitarists playing like that. That doesn't work. Go down, go lower, and try to also lower your thumb and your wrist, okay? So you don't want to be here when you try to play a bar chord. You want to be here, more like in a classical guitar position, if you know what I mean. Kimo, how you doing? Congrats on 10K, thank you. How did you go about choosing your guitars? Got your eye on any more? Oh yeah, I constantly have my eyes on many guitars, which I will not mention probably because I want them to be a surprise on the channel when they will arrive. However, yeah, I look at them on Reverb all the time. But I'm making an effort to be as minimalist as I can, even with musical instruments, because it's very easy as a musician to have a collection of guitars, and not just guitars but everything around it, so pedals, cables, amps, and you know, all that kind of stuff. And at some point you don't have enough room for it, especially if you live in London, UK. So I reached that point where a few years ago I had about 16 guitars in my room, and I thought that's a bit too much, and it's too much for moving home and for everything really. So I decided to downsize my collection. So yes, I will not buy another 10 guitars or anything like that, but I'm constantly looking for guitars. I will just say that I sold about 2-3 years ago a Telecaster, and I'm missing it very much. So that's a guitar that I want to get back. And I definitely want to have a hollow body, like a 335 style, because I used to have it when I used to play in a jazz orchestra, and then when that job finished I sold it, but I want it back as well. So yeah, I will just mention these two and then we'll see. Hello to Izuyamamba, I hope I pronounced that right. Mr. Red, that was awesome, thank you for your question, and thanks a lot from Camille. Thank you guys for your questions. Guys, if you have any other questions, leave them now, because I'm about to close this Q&A. As I said, this was just an occasion to say thank you for subscribing to the channel, to celebrate the 10,000 subscribers. We are almost 11,000 actually. And as I said, I also made a proper video that will be on the channel in a few days as a celebration of the 10k subs, but you got me so many questions that I couldn't answer them all in the video, and that's why I decided to go for this live Q&A. Kimo, thanks, looking forward to seeing the new one. Yep, exactly, and you'll see that. And Casper says, you're amazing, keep up the great content with the 10k subs. Thank you very much. Which artist would you recommend to take a listen? I do love Lucky Die and Sunny Colin. I must confess that I don't know them. I guess that's quite bad of me. I promise I will listen to them tonight. Listen to new people, you know, as much as possible. I don't have any particular person to recommend. I like to listen to artists that sometimes are not very well known, but I just love that. So yeah, and discover new people through the Spotify playlists. That's something that I've been doing recently in the last few months, and I've enjoyed that very much. I will leave you with this thing. I also use this as a neo training exercise thing. So I get a playlist, for instance a neo soul playlist if I'm into that, and I just listen to all of the songs in the playlist, like 10-15 songs, something like that, and I try to figure them out by ear before the song ends, so without repeating the song twice. So I take it as a neo training exercise and challenge at the same time, and it's usually really cool to do. And sometimes you make it, sometimes you don't make it, because you know it's tuned differently, you don't get that immediately and things like that. But yeah, it's a good exercise, I recommend that. Yeah, that's nice. Hi, I cannot pronounce your name. Oh, I don't want to guess what language that is, but yeah, hi. And Mr. Red says, which amps do you recommend for R&B? I'm making a huge switch from analog to digital, so I will not recommend specific amps right now. I can just tell you that I've been playing for over a decade with Fender Tube amps combos, and I love them. In my digital setup, as I showed in the R&B tone video a few weeks ago, I actually use more a Marshall Plexi. So I had Marshall Plexi with simulations of different speakers and stuff. Wish you all the best. Your content is good and even better than ever. Oh, thanks so much, Martin. You're really, really kind. You all guys are really kind, and thanks a lot for your support. It means a lot. And yeah, hopefully we'll be here celebrating more milestones very soon. I also want to make more of these live streamings. I used to make them once a week, but I just checked today that my last live streaming was in February. So I don't know where the time goes. So that was a long time ago, long time ago. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I must go now, and keep an eye on the channel, because tomorrow there is an interesting video coming out with licks for improvisation, R&B and neo soul. Plus, in a few days, another video to celebrate the 10K subs with more questions answered, I promised. So yeah, that's it. All right, guys, enjoy your weekend. Thanks a lot for being here, and I guess I will see you all very soon.